So you're thinking about relocating to Florida, and Tampa and St. Pete have been on your radar. Maybe you've watched a couple videos, talked to some friends, family, what have you. Everybody's got an opinion, whether you should move to Tampa, whether you should move to St. Pete. So in this video, I really wanted to break down the difference between St. Pete versus Tampa and see what you think. So let's get to it right now. Hey future Floridians, I'm Emily. I'm a licensed real estate agent here in the state of Florida, and I live in the Tampa St. Pete area. And this channel is dedicated to all things living, working, playing, sleeping, eating, and especially the real estate market here in Central Florida. So if that resonates with you, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. And as well as leaving me a comment below is really great. I've been getting some interesting comments and some really great suggestions. So please feel free to start a conversation in the comments section. And of course, if you like this content, it'd really help me if you'd hit that thumbs up. That helps a lot. And if you are looking to relocate to the Tampa St. Pete area, let me be your advocate. I can help you, but I can't help you if you don't reach out. All my links are below. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me, or you can jump on my calendar for a 30-minute consultation and we can dive a little deeper into what you're looking to do in order to relocate. So today I wanted to talk about two of my favorite cities because I live in one of them, Tampa, St. Pete. And they're really part of the same. You know, Tampa is considered most of the western part of the central part of Florida. St. Pete is Tampa's little sister, kind of hanging out over on the beach side. So they are two very different areas. Tampa has great things to offer, so does St. Pete. But you have to know the difference between the two. So I really wanted to break that down with you today in this video. So Tampa offers great quality of life, sunshine, beaches, excitement, but also St. Pete offers a downtown life, a lot more walkability, and you're closer to the beach. So I really wanted to kind of break down some of these things that you may be thinking about when you're looking to relocate and trying to decide between St. Pete and Tampa. And I go through this a lot with a lot of my clients because they've been watching my videos about St. Pete and Tampa, and it's really hard. And so when you come to visit, if you're on the fence, I most certainly ask you to travel around Tampa a little bit and travel around St. Pete. And if you can, get an Airbnb in each city so that you can get a vibe. And like I've mentioned before, I did have someone reach out to me on YouTube that was staying in St. Pete and she wanted to talk, but then she decided that St. Pete was just too crowded for her. And I was like, oh, I need to make a note of that and let people know it is a crowded, diverse town. But we're gonna get after it. I'm jumping ahead here. Let me get to some of these topics that I wanted to go over with you. Let's talk about neighborhoods. Okay, so the difference between the neighborhoods, you're gonna have a little bit more manicured neighborhoods in Tampa. There are also some unmanicured areas, but you're gonna have more opportunity for that curb appeal if that's interesting to you. But those areas are gonna usually have HOAs. So Tampa has, in my opinion, a lot more HOA communities than St. Pete. St. Pete, on the other side, doesn't have hardly any, if any, HOA communities unless they're in a condo or townhome community where there are HOAs. And so what does that do? People don't have to necessarily take care of their lawn. They can park anything in front of their house. So the curb appeal in some parts, not all people out there, some parts of St. Pete just don't have the curb appeal that you might think. And especially because, like I mentioned, it was densely populated, everything's sort of squished together and there's a lot of people in St. Pete. Also in St. Pete, the housing sizes are a lot smaller because they were built back in the early 1900s. And so you've got a ton of historical areas in St. Pete. And so a lot of those bungalow homes, and I mean like a bungalow, like a little shack almost, you can get a 2-bedroom with 900 square feet. I've been showing some people these little bungalows for investment property, and they are great when you're looking to do that if you're looking for long-term rental or even an Airbnb. And those are usually based on property, so not everybody can Airbnb. Just keep that in mind. But the houses in St. Pete, I try to explain to people, like, you might not get a garage and you might have 1 bathroom to 3 bedrooms, and there's probably not a lot of closet space. unless it's been renovated. And so we're starting to see a lot more renovation of these historic homes. And so I've been in a couple of them and they're great. And if you're coming from a big city where you're used to a little bit smaller of a dwelling, it's not going to bother you so much. A lot of people get used to that sort of lifestyle. But if you are looking to expand and have more of a property, Tampa's probably going to be able to give you that. But there are parts of St. Pete that have the larger homes. They're just going to cost you a little bit more. Food's high on my list. So what's the difference here? So a lot of people will go to St. Pete to eat because they have some of the newer, kind of cooler chefs in town. And that is true. If I want a really cool, kind of different meal, I might go to St. Pete. But Tampa has a ton more options of diversity in types of food and ethnicities of food, but it's spread out. So you can be in Carrollwood and have sushi or Mexican or Ethiopian or Russian or whatever, and then you could go downtown and have that same diversity. Where in St. Pete, in my opinion, the majority of the good restaurants are either on First or Central or all the way downtown. So it's not like in the heart of St. Pete, there's lots of great food all around. There could be, but the majority of the good restaurants are in that downtown St. Pete area. But that's cool because you can walk to everything. All right, so let's just go ahead and talk about walkability, activities, beaches, all of that. So when it comes to a walking town, St. Pete has got that in spades. It on the walking score is a 90.9, which makes it in the top 10 of the most walkable neighborhoods in the nation. So out of Florida, it is the top one. So if you're looking to kind of get out and be able to walk to your favorite coffee shop or bike to someplace, St. Pete absolutely should be high on your list for that.
I must put it on my list.
Tampa, not so much. Tampa's spread out. We're very spread out. There are areas that you can walk around. You can walk around the Hillsborough River, where you could start, I've talked about this before, you can start at Rick's on the River and go all the way down to the convention center. Just follow the river. And we've made, over the years, they have increased the walkability around the river. So I think they've actually started on the other side now so that you can eventually do some sort of a loop. I don't know how that's going to work, but there is a lot of walking in that area. Also, Bay Shore. So along the Bay Shore, there's a sidewalk that goes, basically from the top of the bridge over in downtown all the way down to almost to McDill. So there are areas that you can walk in Tampa, but as far as like, oh, hey, babe, let's go to this restaurant. Sure, let's just jump on our e-bike. I don't think you're going to want to do that in Tampa. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of streets. It's definitely a driving town. In beaches, well, if you're in Tampa proper, you're not very close to the beaches. Now you're going to say, but Emily, I see water all around. Well, yes, you can see the bay. You can go eat at a restaurant that sits on the bay. Absolutely, we do that all the time. But as far as a beach in the Tampa Bay area, there isn't one. You have to go west. You have to either cross a bridge or just keep going due west, and you'll hit Honeymoon Island and all of them all the way down Clearwater to St. Pete Beach. So if you're looking to go to the beach quite frequently, you might want to stay more on the west part of Tampa or then go into the Pinellas County areas. Don't forget traffic. So in our high season, when it is summertime, spring break, people are here, people are going to the beach, we get a lot of busy traffic leading into the most popular beaches. And pro tip, we don't go to St. Pete Beach. We don't go to Clearwater Beach, the locals. We find all the other beaches that nobody knows about and we go there. One of which is Honeymoon Island. I talk about it so much, it's actually myself and other people, it's becoming a very crowded beach. You can sit in line for 20 to 30 minutes just to get through the gate, but it's worth it. Pack the car up, pack friends, family, kids, whatever, and get in the car and get in that line. It's worth it.
Worth it.
Spend the day. But if you just even want to go to the beach after work or whatever, you need to start thinking about, well, how long is it going to take me in rush hour to get over there? So I tell my beach people, stay on the west side of Tampa or move to the Pinellas County area, which includes St. Pete and Clearwater and all of that. Or if it doesn't really matter to you and you're going to go to the beach every so often, stay in Tampa. It's totally fine. But I'm sort of in the middle. I'm close to the airport. So I have to be about 20 minutes to the beach or I will shrivel up and die. Nightlife, I'm beyond those days. I'm a day drinker myself, Me and my friends, we found that that's way more conducive to our lifestyle. But if you're looking for a very exciting, cool, fun nightlife, in my opinion, St. Pete has that in spades. That doesn't mean Tampa doesn't have a fun nightlife. It does, but it has it in little areas. So the downtown Tampa area has some fun restaurants and bars for sure, really cool. But the people tend to be a little bit more on the older professional side or the family side, in my opinion, people with kids and whatever. St. Pete tends to lean more towards the young professionals and the millennials. Even though we call everybody who's younger a millennial, but I don't know if that's technically accurate, but let's just say young people, single people, young professionals, people that are just starting to get going in life and they want to, they don't want to sit home on a Thursday night. They want to go out and they want to meet people. St. Pete's a great place for that. But again, like I said, don't discount Tampa. We've got a ton to do between the Channel District and Armature Works and downtown, and not to mention South Tampa in the Soho, Hyde Park area. There's always things to do, but it's not as walkable. And that is the key that I keep talking about, is like if you want to have a lot of fun in a night, you can be in St. Pete and you can bar hop, you can walk around, and you're within like less than a mile of everything that is really cool and hip. Tampa, you're going to have to take an Uber. You're going to have to, if you're going to one bar, you're going to have to Uber to the next bar, and it can be a little expensive, but it's still fun. All my nightlifers, comment below if you've had a fun night in Tampa or St. Pete. What's your favorite? Arts and culture and that sort of thing. And I forgot to mention biking as well. So let me just add that in real quick here. If you're a biker or you like to, bike around and take a look at the areas, I think, again, St. Pete is going to be more conducive to that. There's the Pinellas Trail, which you can bike 45 miles if you've got it in you. So don't forget that, especially if you are, going from here to yonder, as they say. Biking, having a proper trail is really the way to go. Tampa doesn't really have that. Again, like I said, you can bike around the river, you can bike around Channel District and stuff like that, but it doesn't really take you from one to the other, if that makes sense. So in St. Pete, you could start in downtown near the pier and take the Pinellas Trail all the way up to Tarpon if you so desire. So again, St. Pete has it in spades when it's walkability, bikeability, and that sort of thing. But let's get back to arts and culture, because for a long time I've been saying St. Pete has all the arts and culture, and they really have a lot. They've got some unique museums. There's always great music happening, and again with the St. Pete Pier, there's always live music going on or some interesting lighting installation happening in the park side of the pier. But Tampa is now turning around too and starting to rival some of what St. Pete has to offer. We have a ton of museums in Tampa as well. We've got some historic museums that talk about the Tampa history, especially the history of Ybor City. Again, like I mentioned, we've got music festivals and art festivals practically every weekend in the spring and the summertime. Gasparilla happens in Tampa. The Gasparilla Music Festival happens in Tampa. So we've got a lot of big events that come through Tampa because it can support that. But if you like, your little kind of concerts and that sort of thing, or your little quaint, interesting museums, St. Pete's got that for sure. Don't forget, St. Pete's got the Dolly Museum. It's really great. And I wanted to talk a bit about the cost of living. Everybody's concerned about that in this kind of crazy market and world that we're living in right now. For a long time, Tampa and St. Pete have been flying under the radar, and we've been below the national average when it comes to cost of living. But now, especially after COVID and the crazy real estate market we just kind of came out of, and we're all taking finally a breath, but now interest rates are doing crazy things. It's something that is really high on everybody's list when you're looking at relocation. It takes money to relocate, it takes money to buy a home. So it's important to know those facts before you get here. So when you're looking at it from a job perspective, there is a lot of diversity in jobs in Tampa. There's a lot more opportunity for different types of jobs. Again, because it's a bigger area, bigger population is in Tampa. St. Pete has more of those niche industries. They're starting to come around a little bit, but if you think about it, there's not a lot of land for some of these businesses to build large buildings. So we do have in St. Pete Jable, and I think in Clearwater is Honeywell, and some of those, and they have built big compounds in certain areas, but they're not in that downtown St. Pete proper area. Those are still some smaller companies or corporations that don't necessarily need lots of square footage per se. In Tampa, we are growing by leaps and bounds when it comes to the job market. So in industries like the healthcare industry, the IT industry, and the financial industry in particular, we are just booming. But we also have a lot of manufacturing and engineering and logistics that's really growing big here as well. Don't forget, we've got the Port of Tampa, which all those big containers, they have to come in from somewhere and we bring them in. So there is a lot of opportunity in Tampa. But if you are a remote worker, I think St. Pete, and if you like the diversity and all the interesting things I've said about St. Pete, consider St. Pete, because I think you're gonna have a lot more fun in St. Pete than in Tampa per se, even though I live on the Tampa side and I still have a great time and I still go downtown and I still go to all the festivals and I still go to St. Pete. I'm in St. Pete a couple times a week. The two cities are very comparable when you're talking about the cost of living, and it, like I said, it's right around the national average. However, you'll have a lower cost of living in St. Pete versus Tampa because you'll pay less for utilities in Tampa compared to St. Pete, but transportation costs and housing costs are more affordable in St. Pete. So again, because of property taxes being so out of control as they are, they kind of, take us out of the national average in that way. They kind of take us a little above in Tampa. St. Pete's still going to be your lower cost of living area to consider. And not to mention, we were talking about houses, the houses in St. Pete are usually older and they're more renovated, so you're probably not going to get as much home for the price in St. Pete as you can in Tampa. But again, you have to weigh out the property taxes in Tampa because it's Hillsborough County. They're going to be higher than they're going to be in Pinellas County, which I find interesting because Pinellas County is closer to the water. Who knew? I don't know how they figured this out. So to sum up, if you are looking for walkability, urban living, fun nightlife, and being closer to the beaches, St. Pete is for you. But if you prefer shorter commutes, nicer looking neighborhoods, more diversity in job opportunities, and a home with a little bit more square footage, I think Tampa is the place for you. So it's gonna be up to you which side you're gonna fall on. But once you've made your decision, why don't you give me a call? Let me know what you think, what you need. If you need some help on the real estate side, I'm your girl. Let me help you navigate these crazy waters of St. Pete and Tampa. It can be mind-numbing. All my information is below. I'd love to jump on a call with you and talk about your plan and help you understand the Florida market and understand the difference between Tampa and St. Pete market. So go ahead and hit me up below. And don't forget, leave me a comment. I love them. And if you have any suggestions or anything to add to this video, I would appreciate it as well. If there's something else that I've missed on the St. Pete, Tampa, pairing the two together, I'd love to hear from you. So I hope this video was helpful for you to kind of understand a little bit of the differences between St. Pete versus Tampa. And as always, I really appreciate if you'd hit that subscribe button and the notification bell and give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that as well. And I really appreciate you coming out and checking out my content. And until next time, everybody, bye-bye.